Coming up, is quantity better than quality? Let's find out. Hello and welcome back to Automatic Reviews, I'm Mark. This week's review is of the Steeldive SD1970. But before we get to that, I'd just like to let you know that I put up videos every week and my goal is to focus on the best watches at all price ranges. If that sounds good to you, then consider hitting that subscribe button. And while you're at it, tap that little bell icon too so you can be notified each week when my latest video goes up. This week's video isn't sponsored, but as usual, sponsored or not, I'll always tell you what I really think. Alright, now let's take a look at this watch. Here's a quick look at the unboxing experience. This watch comes packaged in this branded Pelican-style case, which is sort of permanently dusty. When you unlatch it and open it up, you'll find the watch inside this thick plastic bag, straddling a piece of foam, and further protected with plastic over the dial and on the case back. The bracelet is wrapped in plastic film as well. Also in the box is this retail-style hang tag. Included is this little pin tool for making bracelet adjustments. I tend to prefer the old hammer and pin routine, but it's a nice inclusion. Additionally in the box is an instruction manual and a warranty card. This watch features a 2-year warranty. The 316L stainless steel case and bracelet feature a mixture of brushing and polishing. This watch is 43.8 millimeters across and 13.5 millimeters thick. It's 46.8 millimeters lug to lug, and it has a lug width of 20 millimeters. It has a signed screw-down case back and a signed screw-down crown, which features an unusual knurling pattern and is nestled into striking Seiko Willard-inspired crown guards. Powering the watch here is the workhorse NH35 movement, ticking away at 21,600 beats per hour, and featuring a 41-hour power reserve. It's currently running all over the place. Despite having good amplitude, rate and beat error are very inconsistent. My guess is that it's just not properly lubricated, which is something low-cost automatics have a reputation for. Here's a quick lume shot. This watch features two-toned lume. The dial of this watch is a deep shade of green with a sunburst effect. The indices are polished and lumed rectangles, with a shield shape marker at the 12 o'clock position. There is a non-color match date window at 3 o'clock, surrounded by a polished frame. The hour and minute hands are lume batons that feature a brushed center section. And the seconds hand is brushed and sort of an odd arrow shape, with a lumed area as well as a small circle of red paint. It sort of reminds me of a simplified stoplight. The dial printing is decently applied, such as the logo, the chapter ring, as well as the additional dial text, which indicates that this watch has 200 meters of water resistance. Covering it all up is a sapphire crystal that sits a few millimeters above the bezel. It has an AR coating applied. Surrounding the dial is a 120-click unidirectional and, as you saw, fully lumed dive bezel with a green ceramic insert. The bracelet is a tapering oyster-style design with solid end links. Size adjustments are accomplished using a pin-based system. The sign clasp is a milled push-button design, which features a safety latch and a spring bar-based micro-adjustment system with 6 holes for adjustment. Here it is on my flat-profile 7-inch wrist. Adjusted for me, it weighs 170 grams. I paid 80 Canadian dollars or 57 US in a sale last year, but it currently retails for around 127 Canadian, which is like 92 US. So I would definitely wait for a sale. You can find a better deal. Now let's take a look at what you get for your money. The logo here is very busy, and I think they should consider changing it. I rarely say something like that because you can't please everyone. People complain about the logo, so you change it, and then, other people complain, so you change it again, and it just goes on and on forever. But does this logo please anyone? I'm sure there are people out there who do like it, but I don't see a lot of praise for this logo out there. Not many people seem to have a lot of affection for it, and I can understand that. There is a sterile dial version of this watch available, but unfortunately has the older style stamped clasp that has less micro adjustment holes with it, so the clasp would be a downgrade, but also the logo is everywhere on this watch, not just on the dial. It's also on the crown, the case back, and the clasp. It's just too much of this cluttered looking logo. I know it's supposed to be some diving equipment like flippers, air tank, and a mask, almost forming like a skull and crossbones, but My brain just keeps seeing a stout little happy alien character. And that almost makes it better, but not quite. I think they should really consider redesigning it. This watch has Seiko-like bezel alignment, which, as I'm sure you're well aware, is not a good thing. I wanted badly to say they do a better bezel for a fraction of the cost, but I can't. The alignment is poor. With crown guards so dominant, I think the crown needs better grip. It has a unique look, but it's tricky to operate when screwing it back down. And extra special care is needed not to cross-thread it. This is a mid and not a low though, because this watch is a pretty faithful Seiko Willard homage, and I suspect that recreating that watch's crown guard aesthetic will always cause this issue to some degree. For this budget, you can't expect the moon, but the end links here are really basic and feature very simplistic machine lines that lack any refinement. They are kind of a bummer, but again, not a low for less than $60 US. As mentioned in the specs, the movement here is likely not lubricated or is poorly lubricated and or badly regulated, or a combination of those things. I'll try regulating it after the review, but I think this thing just needs to be taken apart and lubricated. Given that this is an automatic watch that I bought for less than $60 US, I can't exactly call this a low. It will function, but it's not the greatest thing in the world. I'll try servicing this myself as a project as soon as I'm confident with the NH35 movement, so, I'll post it, of course, so stay tuned for that. You may notice that many of the shots this week just have more dust on them than usual. And that's hard to avoid when filming macros in general, but in this case, it's actually, in some cases, pitting in the steel, or it is dust that's trapped on the underside of the crystal or on the dial itself, so the construction here is not very clean. Add to that the rough brushing on the hands, the blotchy bezel, and the worst brushing to polishing transitions I've ever seen, and this watch won't be getting much praise for the macros. All this sounds like a low, but I think in fairness it's a mid because of the price this watch sells for. But this is why budget watches usually have simple finishes, so they can do something basic, but get it right. This watch is a Seiko Willard homage, as I mentioned, and some will find that less than ideal. Homage watches aren't for everyone, but if you do like the Willard and wanted to pick one up, you may have been frustrated at the over $1,200 US price tag. So for many, this watch may be the only realistic way to live out their Willard dreams. The shades of green on the dial and bezel don't match. They're complementary enough in my opinion, but some will hate it, so it's a mid. I'm happy to report the bracelet here is in many ways better than baseline Seiko offerings. It's less jangly, it has solid end links, it has a milled clasp, and it has more micro adjustment holes. Big-wristed people will also be happy. Along with this watch's overall chunky profile, this bracelet comes with a lot of links. With my 7-inch wrist, I had to remove 4, which is higher than average for sure. The bezel here is fully loomed. I'm not sure I've ever seen that on a watch this affordable. I'm impressed. Though this watch is chunky, it's also quite comfortable, and you don't need a massive wrist to pull it off. Like Seiko's Turtle, the successor to the Willard design, this is due in large part to the cushion case that makes its dimensions quite wearable. All the nitpicking aside, this is a very cool looking vintage diver. To my eye, this thing is very handsome and rugged. Overall, the looks are a big high. Value for money is complicated with this one, but as I mentioned, the Willard re-release cost $1,200 US on a bracelet, which is a lot to ask. I think though its features aren't refined, you get a lot for the money and can experience Willard nostalgia for well under 10% of the price. The value here is pretty good. So I started with a question. Is quantity better than quality? The answer depends on your priorities and to a lesser extent your budget. This watch is a lot like an all-you-can-eat buffet. Steeldive serves you a lot of watch, but what it serves you is a lot of mostly mediocre watch. The quality isn't bad for the price though, given what you get, and that's the point. If you want a lot of features and are on a strict budget, this just might be the watch for you. The reason I think budget is secondary though is there are better made watches out there for similar money from brands like Militato, Watchdives, and Addies, but they offer you less bells and whistles, so it's more a matter of what you want to get for your money than it is how much money you have to spend. I said a lot of pretty negative things about this watch, but it's a great beater and represents a pretty good value for sure. It looks good, has an undeniable cool factor, and overall is a reliable watch. I wouldn't discourage someone determined to pick one of these up, but for me, if on a tight budget, I'd strongly suggest you consider also looking at some less ambitious watches, something like the Watchdives WD1972, which is quartz powered and comes on a strap. Or saving up and spending a little bit more. You'll rarely regret doing that. So, what do you guys think? Do you like this watch? Do you want one? Do you already have one? If so, how's it going? How do you feel about the philosophy behind this watch? Would you rather a watch with a lot of features executed to a minimum standard, or a simpler watch made to a higher standard? I want to hear about it, guys. Leave a comment below. All right, that's it. That's all. Remember to check the description for any relevant links, like where to find the creator of my theme song, Derelict. Till next week, bye-bye.